Hi, it's Lindsay. Welcome back to The Wandering Reader. So I'm going to be doing my February wrap up. This month I read 4 books and a total of 1,451 pages. It wasn't as great a reading month as January, but to be honest, 4 is the average number of books I read during the year, during the kind of course of a month anyway. So it's pretty average for me. Anyway, so I was quite pleased. So let's get into the books that I read this month. The first book that I read this month was When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. I've done a full review of this on my channel, which I'll link down below, so you can go and watch that if you haven't done already. But I did really enjoy this book. I ended up giving it 5 stars. Great non-fiction book with themes of life and death and medicine and, you know, becoming a doctor, but really well written at the same time. This was published, I think, in January, so it's a recent release. And I would definitely recommend picking up. It's not too long, it's about 230 pages, and like I said, I've really enjoyed it and ended up giving this one 5 stars. The next book that I read was a book on my Kindle called Runes by Edna Waters. This is about a 17-year-old girl called Rain, and at the beginning of the book you learn that her father is missing. He disappeared in some sort of a plane accident, I think. And things start, at the beginning of the book, things start to be weird in her life. She notices things and things happen to her that are a little bit strange. I didn't really like this book at all. I thought the storyline was okay, I thought the characters were okay, it was quite predictable at times. I picked up a copy of this for free on my Kindle, which is why I read it. However, I wouldn't pay money for it. Yeah, I just thought the writing style wasn't that great. There were lots of errors and lots of sort of like clunky phrasing and stuff like that in it, which I didn't really like. Yeah, and I ended up giving this one 2 stars in the end, so it wasn't terrible, but it definitely wasn't one that was for me at all. I got through it. Like I've said in earlier videos that I don't really like DNFing books. Yeah, and it was just something that I had hanging around on my Kindle that I thought I'd pick up, but I wouldn't recommend it. It wasn't that great. The third book that I read this month was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. I mentioned this when I did my Beauty and the Beast tag, which I put out last week. If you haven't watched that, I'll link that down below as well. I really enjoyed this. I read the first book in this series in the summer while I was away last year, and I really enjoyed it. And my husband picked it up shortly afterwards and really liked it as well. The second book I liked even more than the first. It's just a great story. Sarah J Maas does just great. I wouldn't call it YA fantasy, I would call it new adult fantasy. Is that even a genre? I don't know, but to be honest, there's a lot of quite graphic sex in this, so I don't think I'd recommend it to younger readers or younger teenagers, just because I mean, yeah, there are some really graphic descriptions of sex in here, but yeah, it continued the story really nicely. We were introduced to lots more characters. She developed Feyre's character really well. I forgot the name of the main character then. And kind of it left it and you saw how it was going to continue on into the third book. The third book had its cover reveal, I think in January. And it's coming out in May, I believe. So I'm quite looking forward to picking that up. And in the end, I ended up giving this one 4 stars. This is not really the type of book that I think I can give 5 stars to, although I have some of her other ones actually. Yeah, I don't know, just gut feeling, 4 stars. So, but I really recommend this series. It's great fantasy if you like reading fantasy, and I haven't kind of delved into the world of epic fantasy yet, epic adult fantasy. So I think this series and her Throne of Glass series would be a good place to start if you're looking to kind of maybe get into the fantasy genre. The fourth and final book that I picked up in February and finished was 1984 by George Orwell. There are a couple of reasons I picked this one up. The first one was because it was a classic, a modern classic in this case, and so I wanted to read it for my classics goal this year. I remember kind of reading the opening of this maybe 2 or 3 years ago now, not really being that invested in it, so putting it down. The other reason I picked this up is because it's appeared on some bestseller lists sort of at the beginning of this year, the end of last year, perhaps tied in, well I think definitely tied into kind of the politics of the moment and what's going on in America with the whole kind of Trump presidency and things like that. So I wanted to give it a go, and also a colleague of mine at work says that this is their favourite book. And there's a display that we have for students to look at, and the quote that he has used to say why this is his favourite book is, "So much of this is coming true." And yeah, reading this book, that is the case, I suppose. If you don't know what this is about, this follows our main character called Winston, and he works for the party. And he does a job where he changes newspaper articles and things like that to kind of suit whatever stance the party have at that particular moment. And he lives in a world that is controlled totally from the top down, and there's no freedom at all. You're watched constantly, everything that you do is watched and listened to. And it's just about him kind of navigating this kind of world and what happens to him and things. And yeah, like I said, there are so many parallels that you can see, not on the scale that's in here, but what's scary to see is that you're seeing the seeds of it. And just hope to God that things change, I suppose, and that we don't go down this sort of ridiculous path. But I did really end up enjoying that. I found myself, with classics, I tend to read sort of like a chapter or a couple of chapters a day, and with this one I found myself picking it up more than that, just because I was really interested in where this was going. So yeah, I ended up giving that one 4 stars. So there you go, they were all the books that I read in February. So like I said, not a great reading month compared to last month, but pretty average reading month for me really. I've got a few other books on the go at the moment, which I'll talk to you about obviously when I do my March wrap up. But yeah, I've read some good books this month. I read some good stuff. So what did you read this month? Did you read anything that you thought was particularly good that you'd recommend? I'd love to have a chat with you in the comments. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.